Wow, busy day here at the office. Welcome to our first Pet Chats with Dr. Ken. As you probably know, I'm Dr. Ken Schoolmeister. I am the owner of Mixed Pet Veterinary Hospital. We are so pleased to have you here with us today. With me today is my awesome associate veterinarian, and that's Dr. Sarah Kebb. She will be manning the Q&A. So if you have any questions, please send them on and she'll make sure that they get to me. We'll try and answer as many of them as we can. And any that we can't answer, we will go ahead and contact you personally and get your questions answered for you. So today's webinar is a really different thing for me. I don't usually speak to a computer. Normally I'm talking with one of my clients and, with their pet, we have a problem and we're working it through. We talk about medications and other things, and it's just kind of odd for me right now. Oh, but it's a training day. Isn't that what they call it? And what we're looking for is to not look like a deer in the headlights. And that's what I'm really trying hard to do. So if you just will bear with me, we'll get through this thing together. And, I do have a few cheat sheets. Hopefully you don't see them. They're not posted up here. They are other places. So anyhow, one of the first things we want to talk about is what usually is the biggest problem or issue that we have in the spring, and that is the problem with the bugs, the fleas, the ticks, the mosquitoes. They are coming out in droves, and let me tell you, you think you can control the yard and not have to do anything flea and tick wise on your pets. I challenge that concept because basically squirrels and rabbits and chipmunks and mice and deer, if you're lucky enough to have them wandering through your yard eating your ornamental grasses and things, they all bring fleas and ticks. So if they come through every day, which they do, they drop off all of the flea eggs and the young tick stages into the yard, and guess what? You're right back to where you started 2 days after they had the yard sprayed. So you need to just know you've got to do some kind of flea and tick control with your pets. Whether they go outside a lot or not doesn't really make a difference, because it only takes a few moments out in the backyard and you can end up with fleas coming into the house. And then we all have a completely different problem to deal with. So we want to try and avoid that. And the best way to do it is with the chewable tablets that are now available. We used to rely on that kind of greasy oil stuff that we put on the back of their necks that you just never really wanted it to be there because the residue dried. Then you had to virtually bathe the dog completely in order to get it all off. And after 40 years of that kind of product, it is no longer very effective for flea and tick control. So we recommend the oral medications. They had to be approved by the FDA, which makes the science behind them 100 times greater than what is out there in the greasy, oily, old-fashioned medications that are available. So what we do is we go ahead and use those, and we are able to keep the fleas and the tick issue under control for you. Now, another problem we're talking about, and that is the mosquitoes. Okay, mosquitoes, everybody gets them. They never go away here in Charlotte, North Carolina. So what do we have to do about that? Well, heartworms. Mosquitoes are the cause for heartworms. So what we need to do is we need to keep our pets on heartworm preventative, and we need to do that year round. So what we used to do is we used to give a tablet every month. I remember back when I first started in this business, it wasn't every month. We used to do heartworm preventative every day. Can you imagine that? Every day you had to give a heartworm pill in order to keep your dogs from getting heartworms. Well, fortunately, we at least got up to once a month, but now even better than that, we now have a injection who the injection will be good for a full year. That means, guess what? You don't have to do anything for the rest of the year. Come in, give the injection, and you're done, completely done. There's nothing else you have to do. So couple that with our favorite type of flea and tick control tablet, which is once every 3 months. That means you come to the vet office, you get an injection. You don't have to do anything as far as heartworms go for a year. You're going to get 4 pills, 4 chewable goodies that you're going to give every 3 months. You've got nothing to do practically in order to control all of that. So I think that's the way that we really want to deal with all of these things that are happening in the springtime. And now in North Carolina, in Charlotte, you need to do it all year round. Some people try to take a break, and maybe that'll work and maybe it won't. If you want to be 100% certain that you're not going to have a problem, the best way to do that is once a year injection and 4 tablets given once every 3 months. If you do that, you're going to be in good shape. We received a number of really excellent questions from you all. Thank you. And what we're going to do is we're going to try and answer every one of them today. Any of them we don't get answered, we're going to go ahead and again get back in touch with you personally and make sure that we get that under control for you. The first question, which I think is a really excellent one, and that is that what about shaving down my dog for the summer? Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? There's a lot of people out there who say that shaving the dog doesn't really get the dog cooled off. In fact, if anything, it may actually cause sunburn. It may actually cause overheating, and it's really not something you want to do. Oh, to that, I'm just going to have to say, when I had my Newfoundland, which was many years ago, she suffered from the heat. And what I did is finally decided one May 1st, actually, and I went ahead and had her shaved down at the office. And she went home, and oh my gosh, she was running around playing like a puppy. She was 5 years old at the time. I had not seen her that animated and active in such a long time. It was amazing to see the difference in her. And even better was when we went ahead and got her a kiddie pool, put that in the backyard, and here she is running around naked without any hair, and jumps into the pool, lays a full out on the pool, and head on the side, and she would sleep in the pool at times. And it was just such the right thing to do. So by the time that we got into August, it was time for us to do it again, which we did. And she was happy again until November. And then the weather cooled down and she stayed that way until May. And so I think personally, because I experienced this, that if you want to shave your dog, do it. If it seems to be as beneficial for their personalities and activity level as it was for my Beth, then I would say you're doing the right thing. Okay? So there are a lot of naysayers out there, but I still think that that's probably a good thing to do come summertime. Okay? Now, talking about the summer and the heat of the summer. Remember that we're going to be taking our 4-footed friends without shoes on down sidewalks. We might even walk them on the streets. Well, think about that. Think of how hot the sidewalks are, even more so the asphalt, right? Now, if they go quarter mile and they don't have anything on their feet, the temperatures are 95 degrees, you're going to end up with a dog who ends up being very footsore because they're going to get some burns on those foot pads of theirs, and you're not going to be able to do anything to soothe that. And you look at them and you're not going to see anything because there's that dense material that protects the foot pads that you're not going to be able to see through to understand what's going on. But your dog will not want to go for a walk for a few days as a result of that. Remember when we all have experiences? We're in the pool and we're getting out of the pool because what do we want to do? We want to go over, get in under the shade, in the chase lounge, and we are looking for our favorite beverage, and we start across the concrete. And guess what happens? You get 5 feet in, and all of a sudden your feet are getting hot. And what happens? You start going, ooh, 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 and you finally make your way to the shade of the umbrella and get to the drink that you have been wanting to get to, but not before you try to burn the bottom of your feet off. That same problem is going on with the puppies when you take them out and about without thinking about their feet also. Now, as we are talking about walking in the sun, in the heat, we also have to remember that these little guys need water just like we do when we're walking. So be sure to bring a container of water for them as you're going along. In addition to that, you have to obviously have some kind of a collapsible container in order to be able to put the water in. If you're going to give them water, get them off the concrete, put them in the grass, and go ahead and give it to them that way. Okay, and then you do that, just let them rest in there for a while. You know, while I'm thinking about it, I forgot to mention that people take their dogs to tennis courts, which are almost always in full sun, and they go into the tennis court, close the doors, and then they let the dogs run. They throw the tennis ball, and the dogs are running and darting and making sharp turns, and 20 minutes of that, and you're going to be at the vet's office because those dogs are going to tear up their pads and they're going to be bleeding and they're going to be all kinds of problems. So 5 minutes, you're probably good. 20 minutes, 30 minutes, you're probably going to be seeing me. And I'm sure most of you guys would rather avoid that. So be sure to play it smart when you're in the sun with your pups, okay? Now, I had another question, which I think is actually a really good one, okay? And that is that fellow wrote in, said, when my dog goes out back, it comes back in, and the first thing it does is it begins to lick her feet. And the question is, why? Is it allergies? Is there something wrong? Well, think about it for a minute. Dog goes out, walks around, especially if it's the morning. Feet are going to get wet because of the dew in the grass. And then she's going to come in and she's going to stop and she's going to lick all that dew that's there off of. And this is just a normal thing that dogs do. Sometimes even in the middle of the day, if they're outside and they're running through the yard, who knows, they're going to kick up some dust and dirt and pollen and stuff like that. And, that could certainly be something that the dog is going to want to lick up and clean up when she gets in. So if the times that she is licking seems to be always when she has just come back in from being outside, probably not allergies. But if all day long at different times, she is licking at her feet, even when she's not been outside, guess what? You need to come and find out whether it's an allergy problem or not. Dogs, one of the most important things that we look for in dogs who have allergies is that they lick at their feet. So it could be a problem for the dog if we're licking the feet frequently outside of the times that she's outside. So oh yes, sorry. I needed one of those little breaks, okay? Anyhow, so talking about allergies, okay? We have a number of animals whose chewing and scratching and licking, and oh, by the way, their eyes are all red and they've got all kinds of tearing going on. And is that part of the allergy problem that we have? And the answer to that is we see lots and lots and lots of pollen allergy, pollen irritation that goes on in the springtime. And difficult to know if it's an eye infection or if it's just pollen. We call it allergy for simplicity's sake. It's really a pollen sensitivity. And we've all suffered from it this spring. It's been a tremendous pollen season this year. And so if your pup has anything going on with its eyes, more teary, discharge we don't normally see, redness to the eyes, could be pollen, or we could have an eye infection and we need to go ahead and get some medication for that. Even with the pollen irritation, frequently it's a good idea for us to go ahead and get maybe a flush for the eyes or some such thing like that in order to go ahead and just make some, give them some calming of those irritated tissues as a result of all the pollen that they've been exposed to. So looks like I just had, oh yes, thunderstorms come with spring and summer. So those are some really difficult problems for us to deal with because some dogs are terrified of the thunderstorms that come, terrified to the point that they will go through a plate glass door. And needless to say, they will be very severely injured. And these dogs are terrified of that. So it will require medication. You cannot get anything that is a natural, holistic product that's going to deal with those severe fear problems that come with thunderstorms. 4th of July is thunderstorms on steroids. They are 100-fold worse for the dogs. And the best thing you can do there is to turn on the music, give them the drugs, and do everything you can to keep them happy during that time if they are afraid of loud noises, because they are going to be just terrified when it's the 4th of July. And the owners of the dogs already know this, and we sell more medication for that problem for that weekend than probably the entire rest of the year. That's how severe the problem can be. And so anyhow, this is what we need to do in order to keep these guys happy. So I think we've probably come to the end.
Did you talk about allergic skin?
Oh.
The itchy, scratchy skin, that was another question.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Excellent. So we have, as far as our allergies go, the other thing that these guys do, again, I was alluding to it earlier with scratching at themselves. If we have a dog who has allergies, different than people, the target organ for dogs and cats is their skin. And so when they're allergic to something, pollens, molds, spores, house dust mites, their owners, and all kinds of things. And oh yeah, there are dogs who are very severely allergic to their owners. What they do is they scratch. They'll scratch their faces, they'll lick on their feet, they'll rub their faces across the ground. They will go ahead and, run around and try and bite their tails. They'll do all sorts of things showing that they are very uncomfortable. So unfortunately, in order to deal with that, that is a trip to the vet. And there are many, many medications now that we can go ahead and get them, which will keep them under control. And worst case scenario, we can always do the food and environmental allergy testing and begin to desensitize these guys, which will make the need for medication much less. So perhaps in the long run, it's better to do the allergy testing, finding out what they're allergic to, see if we can avoid some of that stuff. And if we find out with food allergies that we can avoid chicken or maybe chicken and beef and feed something else, then that's the easiest thing to do. Avoidance would be a great thing. But yes, we really do see the onslaught of allergic skin conditions in the springtime because out come the pollens and all the puppy dogs, besides the runny eyes, they all have itchy, scratchy skin. Okay, I think I've run out of things to say to you today. So thank you so much for coming. I really am looking forward to our next opportunity to have another one of these webinars. I thank you for being patient with me on this very first of what I hope to be very many webinars coming for, to you. We'll let you know again as to when we're going to do this. And I am looking forward to seeing you guys in person at some point in time. Let's hope that time is sooner rather than later. I want to wish you all a very wonderful Memorial Day weekend. Please stay safe. Let me go ahead and turn